Welcome to another tzuzamen. Hi, Tzip.
Hi, Tzili.
Mickey Charney.
Wow, can you
Hey,
imagine? Same last name,
so,
same last name.
Mick.
Mickey. Wait, the first question.
Okay.
What is behind you on the wall? All
Oh,
those images.
my little wall setup. Yeah.
Yes, your
No.
wall setup.
No, that's from years ago. Over years and years, I've collected a lot of different things, toys, all kinds of tchotchkes, stuff like that. And I kind of always liked the art and stuff on the boxes, little posters. I just kept them and then stuffed them in a closet. And then I never really did anything with them. And I said, okay, I'll do something with it. I'll do something with it. Then 6 years passes and I'm like, all right, let me do something with it. And so I was like, oh, what if I just put them on the wall, cut them up, and then just do whatever. And then that's kind of how and I just keep doing it, and I haven't stopped.
So it's not too noisy for you? No?
But you wanted to know what it is.
Yeah,
not-
I asked you what it is. So this is images of what?
So they're from different shows or franchises or toys that I played on. I have stuff from like all kinds of. They're a mixture. I got some. I don't know. I have a few comic book posters from a few things from years back. A couple of toys from a few shows from Japan. I think I have one Korean somewhere.
Oh.
Maybe I don't remember.
I don't see a picture of Bibi Netanyahu there.
No, I also keep all my other ones. And who's the guy? The guy with like the beard, the communism dude, not Marx, the other guy.
Lenin?
Lenin, yeah.
Ah.
I have those posters in the closet too.
Oh, okay. So we'll make.
I get Lenin. I have one of Putin.
Wow.
I kept one of Mao just for the hell of it.
So wait a minute. So Putin and Marx and Lenin and all. So I don't know how to ask it differently, and I don't know if you can really answer me. But as far as I know, and it didn't change much between you and my son, and there is some, like 10 years difference, I think. Exactly. 10 years. Yeah. He doesn't watch TV. Do you watch TV? The regular CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN? Do you watch it?
No, I don't. No.
Okay.
So I am very detached from the news.
Oh, so you do know about Putin, right? Putin?
Historically, I mean, I hear things more of his recent stuff, but I mostly know about the old stuff.
So let me be bold with you, okay? I have students even younger than you, okay? Undergrad. And I, in my naivete, expect them to be the next leaders of the world, and you're included. You can say, I don't care what you think or what you expect, but I do expect you guys to become the next leaders of the world. And I can see from your face that you are asking, like, are you talking to me? Like, you think I'm going to be a leader? You might. So let's just do a little simulation. If you for some reason get into metamorphosis and do become a leader tomorrow, what would you change?
Well, I mean, I did. This was actually we did an experiment once. This was thing in school. It was years ago. I think it was like in middle school or something. And we did like a faux democracy, kind of say, like, let's see how democracy works and let's elect someone. And we ended up electing like one of the kids in class because you don't want to seem too like egotistical. It's like, don't put your own name in there. You put someone else in because then you don't want to seem like that jackass. And then the second we voted someone in and we were like making decisions, and I was like, I didn't agree with a lot of them. I was just like, let's just like, because they also didn't know what to do and they weren't really sure. I was like, so let's just do this instead, do that, and go here. And then she says, okay, so we started with a democracy, and then Mickey, you just turned it into like a dictatorship. I mean, you're a nice dictator, and it seems like you're doing things for the best of the people, but it kind of just seems like you kind of just undermine the whole thing. And I was like, so we kind of just prove that democracy sucks, or at least that the American democracy isn't good, maybe? I don't know. We could have just proved that. We might not have just proven that. We're 13. We didn't think too much about it.
What about today?
But if I'm going to change things, in a simple term, look, people, it depends how you want to change and depends what you want to change. In most cases, most people don't want to change, or they don't like being told to change, but they have to change. And that's the thing, was like, and the larger number of people you need to change, the less you can actually do anything about it. It's the main reason why like things like the UN doesn't work, or Congress doesn't work, or anything where we need 50 people to vote on one thing, never works, because you can't get 50 people to agree on one thing. Never gonna happen. It just doesn't work. You can barely get 2 people to agree on something. How are you gonna get 50, 100, 3,000, 3 million? So it depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And some things you just have to put up with and just accept it. Because also, you know, whatever you change, there's also a good chance that 5 minutes later, someone's going to change it right back.
So what is the future of your generation?
I think it's the same future as every other generation.
Oh, really?
We'll come up with some things, we'll do it, someone's gonna not like it, is gonna go against it, then we're gonna start it again. I mean, humanity in itself, I mean, people act nowadays like, oh, it's so bad now, war is so bad, everything we do is so terrible. I was like, this is the same crap we've been doing since like Adam and Eve times. Even then they were arguing. They were the first, well, not divorce, but Adam was the first divorcee. He had 2 wives, and the first one didn't pan out for him. So even in that, when people like argue about the Torah and say like, oh, they didn't do stuff in Eden, I was like, they literally left because they fought and argued with the boss, and then they got kicked out. So we've been doing it since day one. That's the best thing people are good at, is arguing and getting kicked out.
Are you worried?
No, I think it's at the same time you say that, but look, we've survived how many thousands of years of this crap, and we still go, and humanity's still going. Is that a good thing? I have no idea. Is it still happening? I don't think people are going to die. I don't think it goes down that easily. The world will not end overnight. Well, unless giant meteorite or something, or the rapture, or God's wrath. But even then, that never actually lasts one overnight.
But I want to ask you something, Mickey. Lately, there's the other day we saw the list of the Jews that were big Jews in the United States, and the title said, this is the end of the important era of the Jews in America. Or
I thought they said the end of the golden era of Jews.
So you said that it's BS.
It is BS. I'm like, also, what does the golden age of Jews mean? Wealthy? I mean, if it means the end of wealthy, powerful Jews, no, because I'm pretty sure there are still wealthy, powerful Jews. Most of them still exist. Didn't they put like Zuckerberg on that list? I'm like, that dude's still stupid rich, like stupid rich, and he still does dumb things. So I don't think he's out. I'm pretty sure. I also didn't see Mel Brooks on that list, so that's a little disappointing. I'm like, that dude's like, he did more for everyone than the Jews. I think that they don't like him because he always made fun of the Jews and they got mad at him for it.
Are you religious?
No, I wouldn't say so.
You believe in God?
I more like I don't care.
So I don't know if you are willing to expose yourself in that way. What do you care about?
It's not the fact that I'm like, it's like that if I need to believe. It's more like, if there is or there isn't God, it doesn't really affect how I live my life, because, and also like, and to say there is a God, it also like, what God? There's a lot of religions out there and there's a lot of things. I'm like, if I say God can also exist, I can say the same thing about like about the Greek gods. I can say the same thing. Well, Allah's the same thing. You can't really say Allah's the same thing as the God. That's the Christians and the Muslims all have the same God. But I mean, then I have to say the same about the Shinto people. I have to say about Hinduism. I gotta say all about it. They can also just be as real as if I believe in them too. So I don't focus it to one God, and it depends what I want from it. Or the religion or the philosophy or what they have from it.
So what do you want from it?
If I want to gain something from it, or if I want to, I mean, look, I do agree. If you want to experience something, you can't just go all like Western civilization and study it and put it under. You really have to go into it. If you want to learn about like Judaism, then yeah, you got to read the Torah. You actually got to study that scripture. There's a lot of good stuff. There's probably some bad stuff. There's also a lot of bad stuff. But you got to actually take it whole. You can't just pick and choose what you want to do or what you don't want to look at. And that applies to everything, because then you're just only doing it half-assed. And if you do something half-assed, you don't understand crap.
So how do you get order in your life?
I
Get
find,
them in order, you know what I mean? Right.
yeah, how do I balance? How do I find balance? I mean, still a process. Do I say I have complete balance? Not at all. I mean, I don't think that's also part of being human or something like that. You can't live your whole life knowing living a whole life is the journey of figuring out balance. That's the first thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure what you both are what uh put it nicely, more than double my age. That's as far. I won't go higher than that. But I assume you don't have balance in your life completely, right?
Yeah.
It's
Non-stop work.
No. Yeah.
it's a process. That's life. That's what living is. And to find but it's also knowing that is, I think, part of gaining certain balance, because if you know how chaos it is, it's knowing how to live with it kind of gives you a bit more of a inner peace kind of thing.
So where do you look for answers?
I used to. It used to bother me. Sometimes I do wonder, like, the big questions, like, oh, it'd be nice to know. But I'm also like, at the same time, these are questions that if I'm meant to know them, I'd know them. So like, if I learning to wanting to seek out this stuff, I get answers for other things. But I don't think anyone has ever, like, in seeking like what's the meaning of life, I don't think anyone has ever actually found the meaning of life. I think they found answers to, like, oh, I know what I should do with my own life. Oh, wait, I know maybe what I should get for Timmy for his birthday. I don't know, like, and stuff like that. You find that stuff, but I don't think anyone has ever said, oh, I actually figured out what the meaning of life was years ago, and now I'm just doing other stuff.
Do
Right.
you look for answers?
Sure.
Do you find answers?
I find answers to some things, but now it's more than ever. I have less answers. I am now more in search of some kind of clarity, but maybe because of what's going on in Israel, because identification is with Israel. You know, I'm here half a year, but still I am there all the time in my soul, mind, and my thoughts. And now is the first time since I was born that I have to reevaluate how I feel. And it's almost like I have to reevaluate my identity, and I hate to do it.
Yeah.
Because it was a one constant, never mind, rain or shine, it never changed. And now suddenly it's really shaken. But you know, and then I could almost close my eyes of what's going on around us. Maybe I could and thus concentrate on you know, me as an Israeli. But now because of what's happened, I have to widen the way I look at humanity. So it's really complicated. And don't forget that I am teaching students, you know, like a bit younger than you. And
not a bit more, much more than
younger.
18, 19.
Don't remind me.
21, 22.
I know, I'm getting old. Don't remind me.
That's okay. No, yeah,
You
no.
already don't remind me, you're still young, Booby.
But when I look at them, I'm not sure.
Talk to a 16-year-old. Trust me, you start feeling old.
Oh, come on. I don't feel old, you know. I don't care about it. You know, I don't say my age. People know, but I don't care. I don't allow to say it, even not to my family. But I look at my students, and I'm not sure what they care about, and they want to be filmmakers, storytellers, and I'm not sure where they look to find their stories. Now, you know, I look at your wall with all those images. Those are images that it's almost, I don't know how to say it better, but it's almost, you can correct me, create, if you can call your pictorial vision.
In a sense, I definitely think it's more of ironically, I don't think I intended for it, but it is, in a sense, it is like I guess a visual demonstration of my brain in some cases, of like, yeah, it's a hodgepodge of like so many different things, and that's kind of what goes
But I
there.
guess that you can find some through line, something that connecting all those images.
Probably, if you tried,
Right.
yeah, probably, yeah.
And but you can correct me, I'm not sure if realism is really the through line, you know, realism or reality. It's more looks to me like, I think you already mentioned it.
But the question is, what's reality? Because
Yeah.
Mickey has his own reality, and he creates a reality of his own ideas, and he's facing the reality that we do, and
The
some.
question, how much of reality that we
Mm.
see, he sees.
The truth is, though, I will admit, and it's something, and I've actually, I used to get into arguments about this with some of my old teachers, mostly because they just didn't like it, mostly because they always wanted, I used to talk about a lot of certain products or properties. Let's say, even if I want to talk about, even like, I want to talk about like Spider-Man, Superman, or I don't know, Zorro, whatever. I want to talk about any Star Wars. And I was like, well, yeah, but that's like, you confine them to like, well, that's like a form of like escapism for people. It's not the same as like the economy and stuff like that. And I never really personally, I'm someone who doesn't really believe escapism exists. It's like, I don't believe in that. I don't think there is such a thing as escapism. I think it's just interpreting reality differently and different stuff. Because in truth, like, everything is based on something. It's not like saying like, oh, this is different from like the world. I'm like, no, I'm like, even if I'm punching people, if escapism is just a way for people to say, I want to reject this reality, or I don't want to, like, no, we can, if you wanted to, we could say like, it's like, you could have said this 100 years ago and been like, oh, well, oh, women being in politics or thinking that's escapism. They can think about it all they want. That's not going to happen. They don't need to think about that. They should stay where they are, and that's okay. And that's a lot of people like to do it. They used to say that with I remember there was a great old episode or something, a story of like Star Trek years ago, where they used to it was The Advocate, of when they had the first like black lead captain, and they're like, well, like 60 years ago, that's like, oh, it's a nice fantasy thing to have. It's something to escape your harsh reality. I'm like, or he just wants to have a black lead character in a science fiction thing. That's what they want, or that's what you want to project in. And so that, I think, when people like to dismiss something as escapism, it's like saying you don't really want to take what someone's offering fully. You want to analyze it from here, but you don't really want to take it into yourself. And I think that, and look, and that, I mean, like, there are still bad things and bad movies and bad stuff, but I don't think there's always something you can take from somewhere.
So do you think the characters on your wall, those characters, they share a lot of things like humans, no?
Yeah.
But they jealous, they hate, they have a lot of qualities. So it's not really escapism. It's only like, I look at them, I don't have to confront myself. But actually, I can run away from confronting myself and say, oh, they are like that. Not me, but they're lying.
But I think there's something else about it, which I don't know how to put my finger, but following the boys, I remember when I took Mickey to the first Comic-Con, and he was a kid, and I thought I would find tons of kids and parents, and no, there were tons of adults, and we were standing online behind a professor from Florida, from one of the universities, and his wife said he took a day off especially in order to come to see, and I couldn't believe it. It's very different culture in a way in the United States.
People don't even know what you're talking about.
Mickey, tells them what Comic-Con is.
So Comic-Con, we're going for the full history of it, in a sense. In like the old years of the 1970s, back in the old days, what they used to do,
old days, we were already alive.
I know, and nowadays, we're talking about like early Comic-Con and stuff like that. This is back when they first started, as these were like the idea of conventions in general. I mean, look, the idea of a convention isn't brand new. People have all kinds of things: dentist conventions, optometrist conventions, political conventions. I never understand what's so fun about a dentist convention, but they seem to enjoy it, so I don't judge. They get to but the idea always was to bring people from all over the place who have the shared interest, and then you get to exchange and meet other people and then share knowledge and whatever. In the old days, what they did is this was mainly for comic book fans, because this was back. These were all before times we had the internet, so you couldn't just go onto like Facebook or like Reddit or whatever and be like, oh, these people like this.
What do you mean old days? Give us
numbers.
Told you
the 70s.
Okay.
Like the 70s, the 60s, the 80s. And so this is how these people would get along. You couldn't just go back and be like, oh, I can find like a Facebook group of the people who like my stuff. You have to actually go out and find people. And that's and so they're like, we need to find a way to bring everyone together. And so they created these conventions where they had a lot of comic book fans, and they could meet the people who write the comic books. They can meet other people who like the comic books, and they can more explore into it. And that evolved into basically modern conventions and stuff. And then well, once they realized how marketable it was, and then once more movies started coming out, and then like people act like San Diego Comic-Con, which is now probably one of the biggest conventions in the, I think it used to be, I think it got topped by a different one, but it used to be one of the biggest conventions in the country, I think in the world too, because it gathered millions of people. They'd all come for a 4-day weekend, and they'd have so much stuff. And I mean, you've been, it's insane. But after a long time ago, it used to maybe just be like one hotel lobby, barely a couple few hundred people. That was it, because it was only such a tiny thing. Eventually, the medias, they realized they could expand more, so they started bringing more. There was a Hollywoodization of it. They started bringing other stuff that people didn't really consider be part of a comic convention. Like they used to bring in TV shows, or they bring in sitcoms, and everyone's like, what does this have to do with comic books? But that's it. But they brought more and more people, and then it just became bigger and bigger, and that's kind of turned into something different. But it's about, and intrinsically, it's the same thing.
Are you using social media?
No, I don't. I
No,
can't.
Facebook, Twitter.
Honestly, it bores me. I've tried a few times to go on it, and after like a day, I'm like, I don't see the appeal of this. I think it's just too much effort that I just don't feel like putting in.
But there's something beside the difference between the United States and Israel, because there's a little bit some common, something in common, but not really. There is, when I'm going back to what Tzipi said about reality and how you look at things. Because for some people, talking about politics and the news and the world, it's like being serious and being up to date and being tuned to reality. And people who deal with what the stuff that you're talking about, it's not serious, it's not the real thing, it's not. And the truth is that through the kids stuff, I learned few things that I was amazed, because let's say if I assume that if you have comics, or if you have איך אומרים, סרטים ציורים, ברח לי.
הרסת אותי עכשיו,
animation on TV, it's only little kid stuff, till I found out it's not. And then I joined them on looking at things. And I remember when we went to Comic-Con, I became like them, because I followed the Ninja Turtles, because they followed the Ninja Turtles, and it was fascinating. And then we went to Seth MacFarlane panel, and I didn't want to leave because it was unbelievable. And I followed all the shows because of the boys. And for some people, it's animation and it's not serious. I think today things are a bit different, but still there's a
little. It's not
a whole world there that is not interesting for everybody, but it's not less serious.
No, but there's also, the problem is also now, and it's one thing, there's also a transitional generation like that we had, and a lot of them who still don't fully accept it, but are like, it's like, because the problem is, there's people always like ask me about stuff, or well, no one really asks you much, but about things like the Oscars and stuff like that. I mean, I don't watch the Oscars. I don't care about award shows. I think most of them are pretty dumb, and they're mostly just advertisements and for money's sake. It's never really about like good quality. But a lot of people are like, like
what the women wear, the dresses.
Yeah, it's NASCAR. It's like NASCAR. It's like they just have all the advertisements, and the actors are the cars, and that's it.
Right.
But they always, and people say, well, like what? I was like, there's so many things that I'm like would probably deserve to go to the Oscars, but we'll never ever touch it because they don't care, and it's not. And also, the Oscars is run by a bunch of like 80-year-old like white guys who don't really like watch anything else except the only thing when certain anime and stuff like that, everyone's like, oh, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, like this one movie from Asia. I'm like, oh, this must be good. I'm like, what about the 16 other things that are there? It's like, no, but they said it's good, so it's like it has to be something. And granted, it helped introduce a lot of people into this stuff, but it also like it's only like a tiny piece, and there's so much more to get from it.
Don't you have any? Sorry, do you have any desire to perform?
A little bit.
Be a performer?
Depends what. I still haven't figured out. Maybe. It depends what it is. I have to still figure that out. But I guess it depends what. It depends what. I used to. Are
you interested in pantomime?
A little bit. I've looked into it. I've done a bit. I know someone.
I just watch you walking, and the association was pantomime, and Yeah, pantomime, but not only pantomime. I don't know how you call it anymore, but it's a performance. Performance. Never mind.
No.
It's
there,
more on movement
yeah,
than
no.
text.
To me, I think, well, very movement has been not just for performance, but for life has always been a real like important thing for me. Not it's just something I've always been more key on because it's something that most people never take that much notice of. No one ever really pays much attention to it, and I always like looking more into the more, I guess, natural approach. I mean, for me, a lot of the things that I like a lot of movement and body movement is done. But it's not just, I also look at people, but I also see animals, other stuff, how they do it, because that's like where we come from. That's what we do. So it's the
No, my
best thing.
daughter wanted to study acting, Yael, and she schlepped me to the zoo. She was sitting for hours
To watch the
looking
animals.
at animals, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I remember but today, yeah, go
But also dubbing.
dubbing. That's
Dubbing.
voice.
Yeah.
You're interested in dubbing?
Not dubbing. I mean, the one thing is dubbing once at a time. It did appeal, and that's, well, I forget. This is also how a lot of people got introduced to a lot of things. You know, you bring things to
Dubbing
like
is
to another
very
country, you dub
complicated.
over it, and then
You think about it, you have to bring a life
yeah, a couple.
character.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a whole like, yeah,
Just
no, I
create a
know
new
a
world.
lot of I've met a lot of people yeah, or well, a lot of times dubbing in itself is bringing another world and interpreting it for someone else, and that's kind of what a lot of
Right.
it was. I grew up like, you know, I grew up watching a lot of like Israeli TV, which was mostly just other countries' stuff brought to Israel dubbed in Hebrew.
Right.
And I was like, and I was a kid, I was like, oh, most of this, well, one, a lot of like Israeli, at least stuff they aim at kids is terrible because it's like the same 3 people for like 16 shows, and it's always the same thing.
Right.
And I'm like, why does like this 12-year-old kid sound like the same 6-year-old woman from that other TV show?
Yes.
And so, and well, which I got it. Israel, tiny country, we didn't have much to work with, but
Mickey,
it's
you
funny.
already touch it. What do you have against the Israelis who came to Hollywood and changed things?
What do you mean?
No, the thing I have only a few people. I only have a thing against like people like Avi Arad and Chaim Saban and maybe a few others. And it's not really because of them. It's because, and it's, I understand it because yes, first and foremost, it's a business, but it's because they looked at it only purely as, they basically like, they don't care about like the actual content of it. It's like when people say they only really care more about like how we can make more money off of it, and it's the capitalization or like the profitization that really bugs me, because then they kind of like take good stuff and then make it, it's like when people get mad where it's like someone sells out, where like their goal is literally to make as much as we can, and if it doesn't work, then it's a loss. But it's like, and it screws over people who really care about these things.
You
And
know,
it's
there were producers in the past, most of the producers of the past were producers who really loved movies. And now, for many years now, it's all about packaging. You know, a producer is just care about making money and who is the actor that will bring money and it's all about packaging.
It's a very expensive business, and you just calculate.
Yeah, but
and
we cannot be in an art form, any art form,
you kill the
and just
soul of the
money.
whole thing.
Yeah. And once that is, people stop coming. And look, there is, I'm not saying, and I'm never against certain things like packaging stuff. Hell, half the stuff I got from here are based off actual toys for things I like. But I think there's a way, and it's a rare amount of people that are really good at it that can combine the two. I used to know, this is at a Japanese show, and there's this one writer, and they used to always have to add these new toys in it, like every few weeks. Like, we have to add something, and she was so good because she made it feel so natural that it's like it doesn't feel like they're trying to market to you, because she gave a damn. She was like, oh, I don't want to just like make a product placement. I wanted to make a commercial. That's like, because in a sense, like all TVs, I mean, yes, all TVs and movies in a sense are commercials. If you think about it the other, whether it's for toys or for like, you know, ideas or for messages or whatever this person's thinking, because it's like it's a commercial for your soul or whatever, if you want to think about it like that. But it doesn't have to like be soulless, and I think there's a way of doing it. Like, a lot of people always judge the whole marketization of Hollywood. They kind of blame it on Star Wars, mainly, specifically because Star Wars was the first big blockbuster hit. that came out, and and they made a lot of money off a lot of toys from it. But no one in a million years would ever be like, oh, well, he just made it for the money. It's like, no, everyone knew George Lucas wanted to tell a story. He made his thing, and he made it. He lucked out to the fact that, yes, you could. They just realized, oh, we can make a crap ton of money if we sell a bunch of toys, and he got super lucky on that one. But never once did he did that actually affect how he wanted to make what he wanted to make. And that's where he found a balance. And a lot of times, what most people don't realize now is that if we think toy first and then other stuff later, it'll work out. It has never worked out once, and they don't learn until after it happens.
You have any desire to write?
I don't know if to write it again. It's the same thing. It depends what about. And more, sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, I could. Other times, like, yeah, but what would I say, or what would I write about? And then so it turns into that. So
you'll not know how to start.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look, but that's the hardest part. I think once you do something, that becomes easy. Finding where to start is always the hardest, because it's kind of like, people like say, like, once you're downhill, that's easy. But I'm like, okay, but like, where do I put it? Where do I start? I do think people try to brainwash you, but I don't think actual schools. I don't think they actually But to be fair, that's human history. What is it like? When like parents try to engineer the way their kids think, or they want to. I got lucky in a sense where like I wasn't pushed too much was told to think even if I was told to think a certain way, I would do the opposite because I didn't like being told how to think and what to do. But that's just me. So it wasn't good at work. But I don't think in most cases, I don't think people in general are always like are telling people what they think they need to hear. It's more like they pass on what they learned, and they try to pass on what they think can move on. And in reality, it's just you try to hide what you can, and you try to tell what you want to say, and then you try to, but eventually everything is going to get out there, and you can't keep everything from everyone forever.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you saw Forrest Gump. Did you see Forrest Gump?
Been a while, but yeah, I've seen it.
That his mother told him, life is like a buffet.
Like
lots of chocolates,
and you can just pick anything you want. Do you believe in it?
Mickey doesn't like chocolate.
Yeah, but okay, so life is box of gefilte fish, okay?
He doesn't like
box of gefilte fish. Okay, but life is a box of baguette and pizza. So, and we all can choose. Do you feel that you have the freedom to choose whatever you want?
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I think where like that metaphor works on an extra bit of thing, an extra is like, yeah, if it's if life is a box of chocolates, it still comes in a box, and you still have chocolates, and that's your choices. Wow. And so it's you still have, that's the choice. It means that you don't know it doesn't mean that you can't go around it, you can't do with it. It just means that that's what you're given. Doesn't mean you have to, doesn't mean you have to even take the box of chocolates. It could be like, nah, screw this, take that. I'm going to get some Doritos from across the street. That's what I want to do. Everyone, it's like, I think that's kind of the idea. I don't know if that's what he was going for, but that's kind of the version I always got from it.
But I was like, define what freedom is, because it's not only freedom of choice of you can choose whatever you want and nobody tells you what to do. It's really life in general direct you certain things, and you have to do certain things, and so freedom is tricky.
Yeah. And look, and in truth, I could choose, like, in reality, I could really choose whatever I want. And that's the thing they can never take. If I said, oh, I don't want to, I can choose not to eat anymore, not to drink, not to take medication, things like that. I'll be dead in 3 days, but I could choose that if I want to. But would most people make that choice? Probably not, because they don't want to die. It's because it's a painful and really annoying choice. So it depends what you want to choose and why you want to choose it. I don't think it's as simple as just saying oh, I can choose whatever I want. It's like, yeah, I can choose what I want, but there's shit comes with it.
Yeah. So what values do you appreciate in America? And then I will ask you the same about Japan. What are the values?
The values.
Because you're still American kid. What can you do?
Yeah, no, I know. I don't really get a choice on that. I never got a choice on that. I didn't get a choice on that.
Mother. It's not easy, but
he's an American.
But you're American.
I don't think I'm as American. Yeah, barely an American. like in name
Let's say
only.
that you were born American, you grew up in America. It's true you have an Israeli mother, but you are taken by another culture. So yep.
I do think, look, I think one of the things America's kind of always had, and I don't think it's been one of its, I don't know if it's its strong point or if it's weak point, it's just been one of its points, is that, yeah, in a sense, you do get like, you get the right or the voice to say whatever the hell you want. And does that mean no consequences? And people say like, no, it's like it's like you have the right to be a jackass, but you get to like, doesn't mean it's going to pan out for you, but you still get the right to be one. So, and then people get mad, of course, then people get mad about it when it's like, well, why did he like, or why are they racist? Why are they this? Why do they hate them? It's like that. Well, they have the right to. You don't have to. No one said, but no one says you have to agree with them. Like that was never.
There are limits. There are limits to freedom of speech.
I think you can't look. I think you can't have freedom of speech and then expect to like everything you hear. And people are like, yeah, but I'm like, fundamentally, this is what we kind of asked for. Like you can't be selective. It's like it's like when parents always get upset, or it's like the kid tells the kid, oh well, you can do this, and it's like it's like you can only have one snack or something after bed, and then they just take like 16 snacks, put it together, and make it one big one big snack, and they get mad. It's like, that's not, you can't do that. I'm like, you said one snack. I'm like, you set them up for it. It's like you set it up, and they found a way around it. You can't feel like, you could be mad about it, but that's what people are gonna do. People like to find a way around stuff. So then to be like, yeah, and then they act all surprised. I'm like, yeah. People like, as much as it's annoying, people like being smartasses. It's fun, and you can find a way around it. So if you ask someone like, well, this is not what I meant when I wanted freedom of speech. I don't want them to go against me. I'm like, you gave them the chance. It's like giving someone like, it's like if you give someone a gun and it's like, I just don't point it at me ever. And then they point it at you. I'm like, oh, right, damn it. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. Are you worried about anti-Semitism?
No.
You as a Jew?
No.
Okay.
Well, I live in New York. That means like nothing happens in New York to Jews. Like it's not since like 100 years ago, but not as much. And also like the thing is like, I'm Jewish, but I'm not like obviously Jewish. Apparently, in some cases, I pass for non-Jew. I've been told.
Well,
except for one friend.
I always say that when you're talking this way, Hitler would have choose for you, because they went for every Jew. Whether you look like a Jew, you feel like a Jew, you ignore your Judaism, when it comes, they go all over the place. So even if you think that you're not, or you don't look like, you don't feel like you are.
Yeah, but also, but Hitler wasn't anti-Semitic. He was I kill everyone that isn't me. That's like, anti-Semitic is like, I don't like Jews.
No,
like,
he didn't like Jews. He didn't like Jews.
No, I know he didn't like
Very
Jews.
specific.
Oh, well, he didn't like a lot of people. He didn't like Jews.
Yeah,
He
right.
didn't like anyone that was blonde,
Yeah.
white, and Jew, and like in German. That was his thing.
Yeah.
Granted, how much did he actually believe this? I have no idea, because in reality, it was more just him. It was the whole scare tactic. It wasn't less that like that. The thing is for Hitler, which I'm pretty sure it wasn't that I don't know how much he believed of it. It's more like how much he needed other people to believe it. Because if other people believe it, then I could do whatever the hell I want, and then he could take over Poland. And it's like, who's mostly in Poland? Oh, it's the Jews. So let's take out the Jews. I mean, if you did the same thing, you could because the thing is, like, Hitler isn't a 1 in a million. Like, everyone did it at least once. Japan did it to Korea. Japan did it to China. Japan did it to a couple places, actually. Korea did it to a few places. China's still doing it. China does it to the Muslims. China does that to that. America's been doing it to like the Native Americans, the South Americans, everyone that isn't them, and Britain did it to the entire world.
Right. You mentioned Japan, and I can see on your wall. So what values attracts you to Japan?
I think with them, it's not much so much as values. It's more also just a way of approaching things, and the way they
For example,
they don't. One thing I always liked is they've never been. It's a big thing, and it's not just Japanese, but a lot of Asian cultures, but in a lot of Japan, is they have this thing about respect. And it's not just like respect for other people or just respecting like that. It's respect, period, to everything. You respect, like, you give respect not to the people, to your bed, to your house, to your phone, to your whatever, anything that's like, because you give, like, these are things that are a part of you. They don't try to use it against it. And some people go against it, but intrinsically, they used to have these old ceremonies, and I was always actually honey for a lot of Buddhist ceremonies where like the people would take things to altars and stuff like that. It's like if you took like you said your stapler breaks, stops working, and it's like, but you've used it for like 20 years, and you take it like to say like your shul or something, and you place it there and you leave it there, and they would do this because it's like, this has served me well and I owe it to it, because I still respect it, because even though it's just a, be like, but why, it's just a stapler, it doesn't, so what? It's just a puppy. It's just a cat. It's just a thumbtack. You used it and it did good for you. So they respect it and they keep going on with it. And they've kind of always, and though things have changed since for years, and not everyone's always followed that, intrinsically, it's kind of been always like a part of their system, whether they like to admit it or not.
The question is, I don't know why I'm even saying it, but I am in the middle. I don't know if we'll finish it, to do a film with the ultra-religious Jews in the West Bank. And they talk with so much respect. How you handle the peel of a clementine, the fruit. It was amazing how you have to peel it nicely, and then you have to put it to dry, and then you cannot just throw it to the garbage. And the next sentence, they show so much, they don't care about Palestinians in this case. So the question, Japanese respect things outside their own.
Like like I'm saying, like they've said that, and then at the same time, 2 minutes later, like that's what I'm saying, it's an according thing in the system, but you'll never see it with their politics, you'll never see it with their government. It's like they even within their own government or their own politics, it's like they respect each other, but even they had stuff like poor people, no, rich people, no, no, anyone that isn't, no. So it's like, even though like it's a when a lot of people have a certain idea of us, unless they show it in all aspects of their life, this is why it's only like you really only meet a few rare people who really get it, understand it, live their lives with it. And it's not just like a Japan, it's in the whole world. Like it's only a very small percent of people that understand this and live like this, and the rest of it just wants to pretend they understand it, but really just use it because they just want power or be racist or whatever. I think half because they enjoy it.
You are really familiar with Japanese culture, right? And the art.
I would say to an extent. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but others have. I don't agree with that, but yeah.
Right. Do you really understand when you look at you understand the nuances when you watch a painting, a Japanese painting, which is very, very specific, or in general? Can you, by now, because you visited there quite a bit, understand the nuances or the subtext?
Yeah, a lot of times I can get the context of it because it's kind of, I've seen so much of it and stuff. I mean, like, I think actually, like, even take for example, I think recently there was that new show, or there's a new FX or something that they redid that book or something, The Shogun.
Right.
And I haven't gotten through most of it. I only made it through like half the first episode yet. And it wasn't because I thought like it was bad or anything or stuff like that. It's just that like at this point, for the Western audiences, like this whole seeing the Japanese government and this whole idea and stuff like that, they don't see as much often. So it's really enticing and it's really nice. And for me, I'm like, I've watched movies and stuff like this all the time, and I've seen so many things like that. I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I'm not in the mood to watch another political thing with the same messages and the same stuff, because I've seen a lot of it before. I probably will get back to it and I'll finish it eventually. But that's like my thing where it's like, yeah, I'm so familiar with a lot of the history and the attitudes they had toward things that I can kind of gauge like, oh, I see where you got this from. And I'm like, okay, I kind of see why you got that from. And a lot of it, and this is something a lot of them people themselves don't notice, because a lot of things in their own culture is ingrained from other cultures and others. The same with Americans, like they don't know how much stuff they get from
the
other
Japanese
people.
are really influenced by other cultures?
Oh, a bunch. All the time. They took from everybody. And a lot of their main culture came from China, which China came from India. And so a lot of it's the same thing. It's a line. You can see how it like, okay, this came from here. And they took stuff from the US, the Europeans, and everything, because everyone started visiting. Because unless you're like completely isolated, everyone in the world has met each other at least once.
Right.
And so everything passes. Yeah. It's like
Right.
how Americans are like, we have so much tradition and values. Everything you are, you took from someone else, which is fine. That's every culture. No one is pure, authentic, whatever.
Listen, Silly, I can talk to him for 4 hours. But yeah, it's really, I don't know about you, but I really, yeah, I enjoyed myself. I feel like I started to take, maybe you'll not like it, but tiny step to dive into your own world and imagery. So yeah, I appreciate also what's it's behind you on the wall. Tzili, you should be proud.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mickey.
Mick.
It was really nice.
Bye,
We'll see you
Boogie.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
See you all next week.
Bye.